welcome to another edition of The End Zone along with Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Cameron, what a time to be alive. The San Antonio Spurs are not unbeatable as the Thunder finally get a win. Fourth time's a charm, I guess. The transfer portal is nearly reached its end point, and things have been hot and heavy in that area, and the NFL playoffs are in full swing. I mean, this is, if you're a sports fan, this is a really good part of the year.
Yeah, there's not been a boring moment in the last few weeks, it seems like, especially, for us with the transfer portal, but the Thunder finally getting that win. It's like, oh my goodness, something is going right in 2026. There's hope, but yeah, it's what a wild ride.
It's amazing how many people forgot the Thunder won the NBA championship just a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were on pace to become potentially the greatest regular season team of all time. You fast forward a few weeks and 3 losses to San Antonio over the course of whatever it was, 12 or 13 days. And it's like, this team has no chance to beat San Antonio. And you just won a championship, A, but B, it's the regular season, it's early. I thought that there was a San Antonio issue in terms of, like, these teams match up really well. But, people hitting the panic button, it was way too early for that. I think it's good for the Thunder to experience some adversity, as we talked a little bit about last week. But fourth time's a charm. They clearly approached this game differently than they had approached not only the San Antonio games previously, but I think just the games in general over the last few weeks. They played with a level of intensity that really hadn't been there for 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, going back to that stretch against San Antonio back in December, my first thought was they're playing 3 games. This is all in a 13 to 14-day span. Like, they could just be in a little bit of a rut right now.
Which they were.
And they were. So it's kind of hard to tell. Like, there's a little bit of confounding variables, if I remember my scientific terms. I don't know. But, yeah, so to see them come back, it's like, okay, I think we're really starting to see the Thunder put the pieces together and kind of get back into it. And I think it was Jalen Williams who said after the win, he's like, when you play a team like that, you got to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
And they had it all going, and especially he pointed out the last few games too. So it kind of feels like they're turning the page into the next chapter.
Well, you think about the 3 games they lost. The first game was in Las Vegas. The final score of that was 111-109, right? I mean, that was a heavyweight slugfest. The Thunder didn't shoot the ball well in all 3 of the losses, right? 28% combined three-point shooting in those 3 losses, while I think San Antonio was around 38 or 39% from 3, which is a major difference. But they didn't shoot the ball well. The first game's a 2-point loss that they had a chance at the end, didn't quite get it done. The second one was a tight game until the fourth quarter, when I think there was a sequence of the Thunder missing a few shots, San Antonio capitalized on the other end, and it just ballooned. And then the one in OKC on Christmas Day, the Thunder were kind of flat. Again, had an early lead. San Antonio came roaring back and kind of took over the game. But it's not like the Thunder were just completely dominated for 48 minutes, 3 straight times, I think, the way that people made it out to be. But it was obviously a big hurdle, and if nothing else, just a mental hurdle for this team to get over in terms of the San Antonio struggles. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander spoke about getting this win after the game.
I can't remember the last time a team's beaten us 3 times in a row in the regular season. So it was a little bit of a different feeling, a little odd for us. But nonetheless, like, you got to be able to learn and to grow. This team kind of forced us to do that and beating us 3 times in a row. Like, nobody likes the feeling, and if you don't like the feeling, you got to do something about it. I think we took the necessary steps. Now, we still have to go a long way to win big, but we took a step forward in it.
So San Antonio forcing them to, get out of their comfort zone, step up their game, and the Thunder were clearly better for it. Earlier in the week, former Thunder player Carmelo Anthony on his podcast said, the San Antonio role players are better, and that's why they won. Take away the stars, San Antonio's role players are better than Oklahoma City's role players, which I would push back on. I asked our friend Anthony Morrow, former Thunder player, his thoughts on the OKC role players versus the San Antonio role players.
Overall, OKC has better role players right now. Overall, top to bottom. I'm looking at guys where you can take this 5 right here and be an 8 seed. I don't know if you can do that, with San Antonio's role players. You know, I know no disrespect, you know, because they still got guys, Harrison Barnes, the Champagne kid, Dylan Harper, which is kind of weird with him because I don't really look at him like a role player. But I mean, he is kind of right now playing behind De'Aaron Fox. But I mean, we got Isaiah, Kenrich, Kaysen, Alex. Like you said, Jay Will played well. I mean, it's just a lot of guys on here. I feel like AJ, who's playing well. I mean, it's like, you know, and then on somebody, Isaiah, like some of these guys is like any given game, you know, they can go off. And I can't say that for like at that clip, like San Antonio can't do that. Not right now.
There you go. I couldn't agree more. I mean, a big part of the Thunder's success, especially last postseason, to win the championship, is the role players, right? The depth and the number of different tools, so to speak, in the tool belt that they can throw out there depending on what they need at any given point.
And I think the big benefit, too, is that the Thunder have dealt with injuries all season, and kind of like the Spurs forced them to adjust. They had to adjust to these injuries, and I think in working with those different combinations, you find a way to win with those different combinations, and that allows for you to rely more on role players as opposed to just your star power. I mean, they were down a couple of starters again this past game, and they blow them out. So I think that's something that's aided them down the stretch.
There's some guys that are elite talents in certain specific areas. Like Isaiah Joe's one of the best shooters in the NBA. Alex Caruso's one of the best defenders in the NBA. The one guy that I don't think gets enough credit is Jalen Williams, not the all-star Jalen Williams, Jay Will. You know, he may not be like a specialist in any one area, except for like charisma. Like he brings something personality-wise that I absolutely believe plays a giant role in this team's success. Yeah,
I would agree with that. I mean, what makes the Thunder from a fan standpoint so enjoyable to watch is they feel like a team, like an actual team. And maybe that's because it is on the younger side, but it feels like, you know, they all have that bond. And to your point, sometimes your role is to provide the morale. Obviously, he's good at basketball too, but to bring that spirit where it's needed, and especially as a fellow Arkansas grad, I mean, love to watch him get his time in the spotlight.
No doubt, no doubt. Thunder are in the middle of a road trip. They will be back in OKC hosting the Indiana Pacers next Friday night, so it'll be fun to follow them. They still have one more matchup with San Antonio. That is on February 4th. So they haven't completely cleared the Spurs hurdle, but we'll see if that happens again on February 4th. All right, we've got to take a timeout. Cameron visited the Tulsa Portal House, which I'm very envious of, so she's going to tell us about it next here on The End Zone. Along with Cameron Johnson, I'm Colby Daniels. We'll get back into some more NBA conversation, especially when it comes to rivalries like the Thunder and Spurs. I don't know if we're allowed to call them a rival, but we'll have that conversation in a bit. The transfer portal right now is among the biggest headlines in all of sports. I mean, it's like NFL playoffs, Thunder, Spurs, transfer portal. Those three things are probably toward the top of the entire sports headlines. Tulsa specifically has made the headlines nationally with the Portal House, which is absolutely awesome. Tulsa head coach Trey Lamb spoke about the impact it's made.
The Portal House has been awesome. We've had a nice hit rate with the guys. I think we've visited 28 guys and signed 20. So our percentage is really high right now. You know, you're visiting 50 kids potentially over a 2-week window. You don't have the May portal window anymore to fix your issues, so you got to get it right over these 14 days. And so far, 10 or 12 days in, we've been highly successful.
I love his charisma. I believe that the Portal House is playing a big part of getting those guys to make that final commitment. I think it's awesome because, and I hate this term, man cave, but it's kind of like the ultimate man cave, right?
It is. I mean, when I was in there we got about an hour to walk around in there, and I said, I just want to hang out here for the rest of the week. I mean, because, obviously it's business there, but Lamb was saying they've got a 7-hole mini golf course in the back, and he said that a lot of his phone calls with players have come from when he's putting. Like, they'll just all be playing a game, and then they'll be like, oh, hang on, I got to go talk to this guy. And then they'll come back and be like, yep, we got him, and then just finish out the round, if you will. But, yeah, they had, like, a karaoke room in there, and then NCAA, the video game. It was just, I was incredibly envious. I did not want to go back to actual work. I was like, I just want to stay here the rest of the day.
Can I just work here the rest of the day? I mean, I saw shuffleboard, which is obviously a favorite. I mean, who doesn't want to play video games?
Right.
I noticed, I mean, the weather doesn't really say, hey, let's go jump in the pool, but it is a nice option to have. It's almost like just a man version of like the Love Island Villa.
Yeah, it is also a heated pool. They said it's 85 degrees.
Well, then there we go.
85 degrees in there, and I mean, it was also neat because I think they have stuff going on campus, so they kind of had to move off to do all of their transfer portal stuff. But Trey Lamb mentioned it's also nice for players and parents to see beyond just campus because it's in Midtown, so you get to see a little bit more of Tulsa beyond just what you would see if you're hanging out on campus. So it's a really neat concept.
And to have the whole staff there together in one place, working and hosting. I mean, it's such a great concept. It's crazy that nobody else has come up with this.
Yeah, I think I saw when they first posted that, Eric Musselman and USC, the basketball program, I think they did something similar to it, but they responded to it, and they were interacting with one another, so that was fun to see. But yeah, to your point, the team the staff being all together was another thing they brought up. It's not like, hey, we got to go find, so-and-so, ask them about this. It's just they're all there. It's almost like a draft room, so to speak. You're just sitting there, say, hey, what do we need? And it's all in real time.
Well, speaking of football, OU has made Jason Witten officially the tight ends coach. So that's going to be a fun addition to the football team. And obviously, I mean, his name warrants a ton of recognition. And it's a position that absolutely needs to be upgraded. So I crunched some numbers this morning. OU tight ends over the last 3 seasons, look at these numbers, 131 receptions, a little over 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, versus Jason Witten's last 3 seasons in Dallas, 195 receptions, over 1,700 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Now, I get you play a few more games in the NFL per season, but we're talking about an entire tight end room that
ridiculous.
Gets dwarfed by one player. So I think he knows a little bit about the position.
Maybe just a little bit. Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, to think yes, he's one of the best to ever play that position. And I remember, a stretch of time where OU had quite a few good tight ends coming out, Mark Andrews, names of that sort. Yeah. Then they just kind of hit a lull. So it'll be really interesting to see if this is what rejuvenates that room and brings some of that firepower back. And obviously on paper, it seems like it's the right choice.
No doubt. All right, on that note, let's send it over to our MAC correspondent, Adam King, with 10 seconds of MAC athletics.
There's 3 undefeated teams in college basketball right now on the men's side. Arizona, Nebraska, and Miami, Ohio. They're 18-0, the most wins not ranked in both the AP.
All right, that was 10 seconds of MAC athletics. We've got to take a timeout. Thunder Spurs. I don't think we're allowed to call it a rivalry, but we'll debate it next here on the End Zone. Along with Cameron Johnson, I'm Colby Daniels. We've got to talk Thunder Spurs and whether this is a rivalry or not. It took the Thunder 4 tries. Finally, they got a win this season over San Antonio. A lot of people don't want to call this a rivalry for some reason, although, I mean, the Thunder Spurs being the kryptonite of the Thunder, this has been an NBA headline for the better half of the first half of the NBA season so far. So we'll get into, is it a rivalry? But let's start with this. What makes a rivalry for you?
Well, do you mean just in that sport or in general?
In general. Mean, are there certain elements that need to be alive and well for you to feel like a rivalry exists?
Well, I think you have different categories. I mean, obviously you've got proximity. That always makes a rivalry. But I think, in my mind, a rivalry, you got to have, at the start of a rivalry, a good series that's back and forth but has probably a couple of years under its belt. Now, I say that, but for the Thunder and the Spurs, I think they have a rivalry this season, easily, in my book. So it's kind of hard to classify. But, yeah, I think, man, what makes a rivalry? Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things. It's kind of like one of those where it just has a feeling.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
it comes down to that because, you know, you have some rivalries. It's like, well, why is that not a rivalry? Why doesn't that have more steam? But it's just, it's not there,
Yeah.
you know? Because, I mean, I'm going to contradict myself. Going over to football, you had that stretch of time where you had Alabama and Clemson playing each other like almost every year. And that didn't feel like, it felt like a good game. It
Right.
didn't feel like a rivalry. So I think really it ultimately is just, it's got that X factor in there.
There's a feeling maybe that can't be quantified. Like, I will say this, being inside the Paycom Center on Tuesday night, that felt like a rivalry atmosphere, something that can't be explained. It felt bigger than what that game actually was, which was game 41 of an 82-game
Yeah.
regular season. Jalen Williams was asked after the game, is this a rivalry? Here was his answer.
I don't know. You guys control the rivalry thing. I don't really care, to be honest. Like, every game feels like a rivalry at some point because we're defending champs and teams are throwing their best punch at us every single game. But I will say, like I said, like this team makes us play 48 minutes of basketball to where we got to really pay attention, and it's extremely fun to play against them throughout the season because you can feel like us making them better and them making us better throughout the course of the season, like as we're playing. But the rivalry stuff, I don't get caught up into it and all that other stuff. I think the more that we like talk about it and try and force like a rivalry and like, is it a rivalry? If you got to ask, it probably ain't one yet. So that's my mindset going into it. Like, you don't really have to guess if like the old Lakers and Celtics was a rivalry or like the Pistons and Bulls was a rivalry because you just know. So if you got to ask, probably not yet.
I mean, look, I'm not necessarily asking in that sense, but, you know, players are going to be asked if they think it's a rivalry, and I get why a player might not say it is. But, I mean, he said something in there that I think is absolutely crucial toward any sport and having two people become rivalries, and that is they elevate each other, right? He said we have to play better when we play them, and we're making them better because they have to play better when they play us. And that goes back to what you said about that feeling. When we have watched we've watched the Thunder play 41 games now, 42, 43, whatever we're at now. We've watched them play so many games. Clearly, the level on both sides has risen far above what the mean would be when San Antonio and Oklahoma City have been on the floor together. They don't like each other. There's an individual rivalry, I think, with Wemby and Chet. These teams have modeled their games after each other. I mean, I am stamping it a rivalry whether anyone wants to stamp it a rivalry or not.
It's a young rivalry. I agree with you.
You know what? Matt correspondent Adam King is still here. Adam, is this a rivalry? What do you think?
I can't really tell you about that, but if you want to talk rivalries, how about two schools like less than 20 miles apart, fueled by hate? The Battle of I-75, Bowling Green and Toledo.
Listen, I asked about the Thunder. That was an extra 10 seconds of Mac Athletics, but we're stamping Thunder Spurs a rivalry, and I can't wait until February 4th for the 5th time this regular season. All right, we've got the closing argument with Noble McIntyre next on the End Zone. All right, welcome back to the show one final time. We have a new segment featuring our good friend Noble McIntyre with McIntyre Law, also a giant sports fan, so it's great to have you on the show.
I am. Thank you.
What's your favorite sport?
Football, obviously, college football. I mean, I loved NFL when I was younger, but college now.
Okay, and obviously swinging into basketball season, that's a close second maybe?
Well, with the Thunder, it's hard not to be a basketball fan.
That's right.
It was good to get a win last night over the Spurs.
Yep. All right, so let's jump into this. I'm going to make a statement or ask you a question, and doing what you do so well at McIntyre Law, you're going to make the closing argument for the show, and we'll get some viewer feedback on what this is. So this week, let's head to college football. NIL is such a major talking point, and I think just the landscape of college football generates so much conversation. So I want to know from you, would college football's issues be solved by making athletes employees?
It would go a long way. Historically, obviously, they have not been employees. In the advent of NIL and with the recent House versus the NCAA settlement where now there's revenue sharing, they're much, much more employees. And if you're going to pay them, it becomes a professional sport, at which point they have to have the same protections as any other athlete for the NBA, NFL, or whatever it may be. So they are professional athletes at this point being paid. So I think they should be considered employees.
It's like the only thing on earth that decides they want to cherry pick from being this and this and this and this and don't let any of the rules apply to us, right?
It's still the wild, wild west a little bit, but there's going to have to be some rules. The problem with the NIL as it exists right now is any school with $1 billion backer, they have an advantage. You look at Texas Tech and what they're able to do. They have a billionaire that spends money. They're getting bigger and bigger every day. If you're a school that doesn't have a billionaire, you're an extreme disadvantage. So right now, money talks.
There you go. That is the closing argument this week. Make sure you let us know what you think of the closing argument. For Noble McIntyre, I'm Colby Daniels. That is it for this week's edition of The End Zone. We'll see you next week.